Have you ever heard of silencing cell danger responses or memory upgrading as a way to get over chronic illness? I'm definitely intrigued and really excited to hear about this. My guest today used these techniques and fully recovered from severe MECFS. Hi, everyone. I'm Raelan, and welcome back to my channel. Here we explore real stories of recovery from chronic conditions like MECFS and long COVID, sharing strategies, the struggles, and the undeniable hope and reality that healing is possible. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Lalita over in Tasmania in Australia. After enduring 17 years of multiple quote unquote incurable illnesses, Lalita found a way to reclaim her health. I'm so excited and grateful to talk to her. She's one of the invaluable moderators in my Facebook group, which now has almost 10,000 members. It's a lot of work for admins and moderators, and we are so lucky to have her. So get ready to learn from Lalita, who went from being bedbound for over a decade, believing that might be her reality for the rest of her life. Well, hell no, that was not the case. So let's welcome Lalita. Lalita, so amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to it.
You have had such a long journey with this and such a challenging journey with this. I don't know how you're going to possibly sum it all up for us here, but if you could do your best, what has this all been like for you?
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, absolutely amazing, and I have to say now I've gotten through it, or still on it, really, aren't we always until we take that last breath? But I'm healthier, happier, just everything's better now than I've ever been, and I think I'll be 67 this year, so it's pretty good life. Yeah, thank you.
When I asked how your journey has been, amazing isn't the word I was expecting. I can see now, where you are now is such a good place. So, what was it like in those early days, though, when you started facing all these health challenges?
My goodness, really incredible. Like I had a very strange start to this whole illness, uh, you know, that I've been on. So, first of all, I just had a fall in the garden. I fell down, I hit my coccyx really hard like that. And I had some pain in my back, and I went to my normal chiropractors and body therapists. And usually pain goes pretty quickly, but for some reason, this one just wouldn't budge. So 4 years of this chronic pain, just crippling. And I had to give up my work. I could barely sit. I couldn't stand. I couldn't sleep. I was up all night. And I just didn't know what was going on. And all the x rays, MRIs, CAT scans, everything was just showing there's nothing there. There's nothing wrong. So I was just going from doctor to doctor to doctor trying to figure out what's going on. But then the weirdest thing happened. I just started getting all these other weird symptoms, right? Restless legs, vertigo. I stand up and I'm spinning. My heart's just aching all the time. There's pain around my heart. I'm coughing all the time. I'm getting flus all the time. Just so many symptoms. Brain fog and the fatigue is just incredible. I've never known fatigue like that. So all these symptoms, I started to think there's something else going on here. This can't happen from just back pain, right? So then I thought, okay, I've got to get myself off to some specialists. And I went to the functional doctors. I went to all the functional doctors in my city to try and find an answer to what was going on with me. I was deeply depressed because I was not only in this crippling pain every day, joint pain, I had all these other symptoms. I couldn't bear to be in the cold. I couldn't bear to be in the heat. I couldn't bear to be in the light. Headaches 24/7, just horrendous. And so I started with the functional doctors, and of course, they do what they do, look at the diet, take these supplements, take these herbs. And so, I'm starting to spend thousands and thousands of dollars having acupuncture, drinking Chinese herbs, and just a gazillion other things, that we all do to try and get well. I was actively looking for a solution. So that was another several years of doing that, just trying to figure out what was going on. And then finally, I got a diagnosis of lupus. Oh, you have lupus. So I had the lovely butterfly scar, Oh, your body is attacking itself. And guess what? There's no cure. There's no cure. So then I've got this lupus to deal with and all the medications for that. That's not enough for my body. Then I start getting the muscle pain. I have physical pain, joint pain. I have all these other symptoms, and now I've got this muscle pain as well. Where I can't even hug my children anymore. So during all of this, I've got two small children still at home, Raelan. Can you imagine living in that fatigue and that depression and that pain and that everything? And I was bedbound for 11 years. I just shuffled from my bed to the bathroom for 11 years. I barely left the house. It was horrendous, just horrendous. And I was in suicidal depression. I thought of suicide every day after 11 years. But this is it. I just give up. I can't do this anymore. I'm not living. I still get a little bit emotional thinking about that time because it was devastating for my children to know that their mother had given up. So, I attempted suicide, and thank goodness I wasn't successful. I'm grateful for that every day now because I did find a solution in the end, and I kept searching. So a few things that I tried during that time that helped me, a few very strange things that surprised me as well was magnetic therapy. Magnetic therapy actually helped me to sleep better and lifted some of the pain. Very specific magnetic therapy. I kind of researched it as best I could because, you're in this brain fog. You can barely read a sentence, from a page, string a sentence together. But I slowly read as much as I could about this magnetic therapy, and that actually gave me a little increment, of health.
What is magnetic therapy? Sorry to interrupt, but I've never heard of that. What does that involve?
It was a company, a company that specializes in using magnetic therapy for healing. And it's very well known. There's many, many books written about it. And basically, you've got to have the right magnet to start with. So, just warn people to make sure you do your research, right, and get the right magnets. You don't want to be putting a fridge magnet on your body, okay? So these basically what the magnetic technology does is it improves your circulation. Okay, so we've got iron in our blood, and the magnets are attracted to iron. Okay, and that circulates your blood more. So that's very simply put.
Right.
That helped. And then I did bioresonance therapy, and that helped again a little bit. So I went to a couple of specialists. They use this wonderful machine called the bioresonance machine. The research behind all that came from a Dr. Hulda Clark, who studied viruses and bacteria. So when I first got diagnosed with the lupus, the functional medicine people that I went to and the bioresonance people that I went to were pointing to that it was a virus. And when I look back, before my back injury, I had a shocking virus. It really knocked me flat. I was very, very ill for a very long time. And for all I know, that could have been Epstein-Barr or whatever. I never had it tested. But they said, look, it's the virus that's causing this problem. Couldn't explain the pain, what that had to do with it, the physical arthritic pain. But all the other symptoms that I was showing up is this virus. So they went about doing what they could by using this machine to find out where this virus was. They also checked for bacteria, fungus, parasites, mold, all those kinds of things. So the environmental toxins, that the body could be exposed to that's causing all these symptoms, that was their approach. So I changed the diet. I'd already been doing that because I knew that inflammatory foods cause joint pain. So I was already off the gluten and on all those anti-inflammatory foods. So they checked the diet. They gave me some supplements. They used the machine to try and eradicate this virus that was there. And they put me on a long, like over 2 years of a very small dose of antibiotics. So antibiotic therapy, basically, I did for 2 years. And again, I had that little increment. I noticed a change in my body that definitely helped. But I still had pretty much all the symptoms. I still had all the physical pain and the muscle pain and everything else that was going on. But I definitely felt a little shift, a little change in my body with that.
One I haven't heard of. I'm thinking that I've heard it all over here, but yeah, that's really interesting.
I wasn't going to leave any stone unturned, Raelan. I was out there, whatever anybody told me about. Like I was drinking kombucha when nobody had heard of it, 28 years ago. What's that mushroom thing sitting on your desk?
Yeah.
Someone handed me a little book on green lip mussel extract. They said that will fix all your pain, you know. So I read that and I got it. It didn't do anything. So yeah, there really wasn't anything that had tried. Now this is the interesting thing. Now that I'm doing this brain retraining, but the brain retraining is a little bit different. I'll tell you about that. But what I realize now when I look back, I was actually doing a lot of brain retraining while I was sick. So I was trying to read what I could about people who were recovering. And that's why I love what you do, because I was doing that back then, nearly 30 years ago. I was reading little Reader's Digest stories about people who'd recovered from illness. So I was already training my brain because I was looking for a solution. So now I look back, I realize that I think that's what helped me even back then. So I encourage people to do that, to just keep reading the recovery stories. I've got that book called The Cured, and I just flick through that, and just anything that I hear about, reading about it and learning about it, still even now. And it was also back then that I started to learn about my mind, how my mind was playing a part in this, because I knew that I'd had a lot of sadness. I carried a lot of sadness within me. I'd had a lot of trauma from a very early. I was taken away from my mother when I was 2 years old. I was brought to another country. So I was born in Fiji, and I was brought to Australia to live with my father, who I had never known before. And this was at the age of 7. So I knew that I carried a lot of trauma and a lot of sadness, within me. So I was trying to learn as much as I could about the mind. And so actually that was one of the other things where I got the little increments of those 3 things. The third one was my family took me back to Fiji, where I was born. And when I arrived there, I was very, very sick. They wanted me to come back home because the hospitals there are not the best. But my cousin said to me, look, there's a healer. He lives just down the road. I'd like you to go and see him. He said, people come from all around the world to see him. And so he made an appointment for me, and I went there, and fascinating, really fascinating. What he did was he told me, he gave me it was all the leaves and the twigs and the bits of bark and wood. He'd boiled them all up, from the jungle in Fiji. He was a third generation healer, traditional healer. So he had these big pots sitting there with all these bits of sticks and bark and everything sticking out of it. And he'd go over and he'd scoop out the liquid from that, and he'd say to me, "You drink this for 10 days, it will clean your blood," right? And I had the first increment of energy back. I thought, wow, I've got more energy. Wow, this is really amazing. So that actually helped. And I know not everybody can go to Fiji, but now there is actually a therapy that you can do that does clean your blood. I think it's like a plasma replacement or something like that. That really helped.
I have to know,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. What did that taste like?
not the best. And he said to me, "Don't go too far away from the bathroom for at least the
Oh,
bathroom, the shower, constantly." It's really worth it.
oh, I know when
Yeah,
you're in that place, you're like, I'll do whatever. It does not matter.
yeah, yeah. And my cousin was so thrilled that he was able to just,
Oh,
help
wow.
with that, just gaining that bit of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so golly, many, many, many things I tried, I used. Yeah.
So was it those three things that ultimately what got you to where you are now? Were there other things that you needed to do?
Yeah, yeah. So doing all those things actually gave me enough energy to I wanted to go back and study. I wanted to become a counselor so I could help people who were ill, like myself. I tried many, many psychologists and different things, to help with my mind. But there was something still missing all the time. I kept thinking there's something still missing because, I can use my brain again a little bit more, but I'm still so ill. I was struggling every day. I was out of bed after 11 years, but I was still really struggling every day with pain, with insomnia, with all the other symptoms that I had. So what I did eventually was one of the psychologists I went to, she told me about EFT, emotional freedom technique, when I was very, very depressed and when I was in that suicidal state. She said, "Try this." And I knew a little bit about it because some friends of mine were doing it. So I gave it a go and I just found it so difficult. It was a lot to remember and a lot to do, and I didn't actually notice much difference. So I kind of put it aside, but I understood the concept of it because by this time, I'm really looking a lot at my mind, how my mind's doing this, and believing that it was my mind that was doing it. So, and then a few years later, I was telling a friend of mine about the EFT. She was interested, and but I said to her, "I know that there's been a lot of progress since then. There's a lot of other modalities around that are similar." And said, go online and have a look, see what you can find. And she found this process called faster EFT. She said, "This sounds really interesting, Lalita. He's talking about the mind and how the mind can heal and how your mind's causing all these problems." And so she went along to the training and she came back and she said, can I practice on you?" I said,
Wow.
"Absolutely." And at the time, I had to have my knee replaced. My right knee was bone on bone. My surgeon's been telling me for about 9 years, "You've got to go and have that knee replaced." And I finally decided I needed to have it done because I was limping around everywhere, worse than when I was sick. When I was really in that crippling pain, I was walking around with walking sticks, and spending time in recliner chairs. But now I'm limping everywhere, and I don't want to do that anymore. So she's using this process on me, and suddenly all my pain's gone. All my pain of 17 years was completely gone. And
Wow.
not only my knee pain, But all my pain in my every inch of my body from head to toe was gone. And I was like, what the heck? So I started listening to these videos, and now I can see what the missing piece of the puzzle was. And I immediately began doing the training, because by this time I'm counselling people with mental illness and addictions. That was my speciality that I went into. And I'm thinking there's something missing here. I just can't really help these people to get to the root cause of why they're suffering like this. It's got to be the mind, got to be what's going on in the mind. And so I started doing the training. And what I've discovered, Raelan, and this is the most phenomenal thing, is that it's our memories, all our memories that our unconscious and our brain has filed away. Every memory that we have, every event, every experience that we've ever had is filed away in the brain for reference, right? The brain's job is to keep us safe. So it has to keep all that information so that we don't go too close to the fire, so that we don't put our hand on that hot plate, right? So, so what I discovered was this memory reprocessing work can free us of all our ailments. Not only the illnesses that I was faced with, the incurable illnesses that I was faced with, which I don't have anymore. I've had my lupus tests done, and I don't have any lupus left in my body. I don't have fibromyalgia. I can hug people again, right? So this is what was the key for me. This was the missing piece of the puzzle.
And what does it look like to do that work? How do you actually deal with these memories, or what does it on an average day or week look like when you're using this approach?
So there's various ways to do it. One is, we know that people have very traumatic memories. Okay. So I started learning everything I could about memories. I follow all the memory researchers. I keep up with their work to understand and know, you know, how memories work. And so we know that EMDR now has come out of this memory research, right? There's not many memory reprocessing modalities out there, but the EMDR is one that most people know. So how it works, let's see. So there's several ways, and one of the things I actually love about it, and why I stick with this modality, is that anybody can use it. Anybody can use it. You can use it yourself, so it can be self-applied, but you can also do the deeper work. If you've got traumatic memories, you're better off to do those with a practitioner, right? Because it's safer and it's more effective to do it that way. But there's also lots and lots of ways that you can just simply do it by yourself day to day. So two things that kind of really stand out for me with this process. One is anybody can use it. So that homeless man, down the street, he can use this. I can show him how to use it, and he can use it very effectively by himself, right? It has to be and that way it doesn't have to be for people to have to go to therapy. Not everybody can afford therapy and spend thousands of dollars in therapy and pay practitioners to do this work. So those two things I love about it. It's accessible to everyone. You can do it yourself, and it's very affordable, right? So how I teach people to do it themselves on a daily, and that's the other thing. We need a tool that can be used daily, even moment by moment, because we have symptoms, right? We have symptoms all the time with these illnesses. And so it needs to be a tool that we can use quickly, effectively, easily, and help the brain to make those changes. So the process what it does is that it's what's called a neuropsychophysiology process. Neuro meaning the brain, psycho meaning the mind, physiology meaning the body. So it uses the brain, the mind, and the body, what's happening in the body, the somatic stuff, right, to help the brain make changes. But it's via the memories. So somatic, we have, all the different somatic exercises that we do. Yeah, the brain retraining is, the visualizations, the affirmations, the changing of habits and symptom tracking and things like that. That's using the brain. But the mind is controlled by memories. Okay. And unless you address memories, then often we continue to have the problems. So that's what was happening with me. I tried everything else, but these memories, these traumatic memories, I'm not sure if you've heard of the ACE study, Raelan, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study.
I have, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the Adverse Childhood Experience Study shows us that, if we've had traumatic experiences throughout our life, if we've experienced, a parent being incarcerated or who had a mental illness, if there was domestic violence in the home, and all these things, they're all the memories that we carry with us. Okay. So that's the process. It's addressing the memories, but doing it in a certain way. And by doing that, when I was able to do that, so for example, when my friend was addressing my right knee, she just said to me, she said, I want you to I want you to recall memories that were the most traumatic for you that you can think of right now. And I immediately, my brain went to three traumatic experiences that I'd had. And so then she used the technique, and one part of it is tapping, but that's not the main way of changing a memory. There's many, many other processes combined with tapping to help the memory to change, to upgrade. And so when she got me to do that, those memories suddenly no longer bothered me. All the emotional pain that I was still holding on to, and those memories were from a long time ago, as soon as my body released the pain, the emotional pain, then my physical pain just went. Right? And this is what Dr. Sano teaches us. This is the work that the TMS
Yes.
people
TMS,
are
yes.
doing. Yeah, that's what they're doing. The physical pain in the body is because of the emotional pain is there as well.
As you've been speaking, there's a lot of parallels. I'm just rereading one of his books right now, and he talks a lot about repressed emotions and tension and things that we're carrying around. But can be tied to memories. But seems like a very similar understanding.
That's it. That's exactly the same. So all we're doing with this process is actually targeting the memories. Okay. And once you just target that memory, those memories, the brain changes, right? So this is why, I'm a neuroplasticity coach, and this is what I help people to do, is help them to change those memories that their brain's holding on to. Okay. So here's a little example, a really profound example, very simple example, is I had a festival, a health festival. I was asked to come and demonstrate what I do there. So I was offering people like 15-minute sessions to give me a memory, and I'll help you to upgrade that memory and see how that helps your problem. Okay, so people were coming along with all kinds of different things: anxiety, depression, fears, phobias, lots and lots of different things. And I was helping them to do this in 15 minutes. Okay, so this mother and daughter came along, and this little girl, she was about 9 years old. She was standing there with a cap on, with her head down like this. And her mother said to me, I wonder if you would be able to help Evie. I said, I can give it a go. I'm happy to. What's the problem? She said, she's been coughing for 2 years, non-stop coughing. And we've had her to everybody. We've had her to all the specialists, the doctors. She's had tests done. She's been to psychologists. We've done everything. And she's completely losing her confidence. She's very unhappy. And because she just can't stop coughing, and she thinks that that's annoys everybody. She feels like that she's just, you know, a nuisance and she's annoying everybody. So I said to her, so 2 years ago, what happened? What bad thing happened 2 years ago? Can you tell me that? And immediately she went to this memory of when her mother took a phone call about her grandfather going to hospital, and she saw her mother really, really distressed, distraught. And so that was the memory that she had. Okay. But another question I asked, I'm like, why would it be coughing? Because our symptoms are nearly always related to something that the brain knows, something it's familiar with. So I said to her, who else in your family coughs? And she, oh, grandma does. Grandma coughs all the time. We know where to find her in the supermarket because she coughs so much. So little Evie's brain has connected coughing with being in distress, being upset, because her grandmother suffers quite a bit of anxiety. Okay. So then I go ahead and I use the process, tapping being one of them, because all what tapping does is interrupts the signal of the memory going from the brain to the body. It interrupts that and changes it. So 15 minutes, I I got her to just look at this memory, and it completely changed. She said, "Oh no, I can't see that anymore. I can't feel that anymore. I can just see grandpa now going on a cruise." And I said, "That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Your brain just did that. Your brain changed that memory." And I said, "Now, can you cough for me?" And she was, and she looked at her mother, says, I can't cough, Mum. It's gone. It stopped, right? So her mother kept in touch with me, and she told me that her cough never came back. So that's just one example of how changing a traumatic memory can help a symptom in the body, right? So it's that brain, mind, and body combination that makes the changes. That's what happened to me. And that's what happens with all the clients that I work with. They come to me with all kinds of problems. Yes, most of them with chronic illnesses like I had. It can just work for anything, fears, phobias, insomnia, pain, anything. So that's kind of what I do, Raelan.
That is amazing. I can't believe how much I still learn every single person I talk to. So much insight from everything that you're sharing. And, I still get interviewed sometimes and asked to share my story, my own ME/CFS journey. I did just earlier
Yeah,
today for this health summit. And I always give sort of the same story. And I talk about how I was working crazy hours, working out 6 days a week, not taking great care of myself, not getting enough sleep, high stress, high anxiety, low self esteem,
yeah,
really critical. And I attribute a
yeah,
lot of that to the perfect storm, but I don't think
yes,
about the memories. And I grew up with a mother who had CFS, and it was intensely
yes,
stressful for all of us. And she had just
yeah.
taken her own life 8 months before I got sick from her own,
Oh, Raelan.
hopelessness from the journey. And I have thousands of rough memories from my childhood, and I never even think about that. Not very much,
Yeah,
anyways, when I'm factoring my whole. Of course, I understand the impact the stress had some role, but just
yeah,
when you're talking about how all the memories we have filed away, I instantly felt like this heaviness, like, wow, we carry a lot
yeah.
we think
We
about
do.
all of that
We
file
do.
filed away. So
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah, I just really appreciate you explaining this so clearly and so well. And it's just really helping me to continue to understand, my own story. So I imagine it's the same for people who are watching.
And, I can give you those links to those memory researchers. Once you listen to them, and they're saying this is the healing of the future. This memory reprocessing is healing of the future. This is what we've got to do as healers. We've got to help people address those memories. Because since then, I started listening recently, I started listening to Dr. Navia, right, about the cell danger response. Because when you've got lupus, you're told that your body's attacking itself. Your body's turning against you. So that cell danger response was very much alive, in me. And I understand my patterns now. I was very good at repressing my emotions. And I was like you, going a million miles per hour every day, day to day. Mother of five, raising five children, working, doing community work, just going, going, going. I played a ton of sport, you know. I was coaching, I was training, I was doing a million things. And my body just had enough. And I had this emotional pain that I was carrying around with me, right? And so Dr. Navia explains about this cell danger response. The missing piece of this cell danger response is the memories. It's the memories that are driving the cell danger response to stay on, to stay switched on. Okay. And then when that cell danger response is signaling the nervous system is then creating these symptoms. And then we have the problem, right? Why do I feel so sick? Why have I got all these weird symptoms going on? Finally, it makes sense to me, right? I had all those symptoms just from falling down and hurting my back, had all those symptoms because that triggered my cell danger response to come on and stay on because I had all that other unprocessed pain and suffering that I was carrying. And that was because I still had all those memories. Okay, so these memories of researchers, and this is why I focus on neurology, is the brain can change. The brain can truly change. And the way to change the brain is to change the memories. Because if you can change the memories that are driving that cell danger response, that cell danger response is no longer a problem. Yes, there are a lot of other ways, there are a lot of avenues to do that. But what I found from my 11 years I've been doing this, what I've found is they're very slow, right? Because I have clients come to me all the time who've done everything else. They've done the somatic work, they've done the TMS, they've done all these other things, you know, and they still have their problem. As soon as we address the memory, that dissipates very quickly, very quickly. Yep.
It's, yeah, again, another part of my recovery. I started because I kept hearing about how you need to address past trauma. So I started thinking of things that I was still carrying around and I made a list of them. And for whatever reason, I just went through each of them, over a period of time. And it was typically things where someone had treated me unwell, or I didn't feel like I enforced my own boundaries. And I had regrets
Yes.
around just being treated poorly or just not having the courage to stand up for myself in different situations. And I went through them one by one and just reimagine them. Like, how would I
Mm-hmm.
like to have handled it? And it sounds like a similar thing. Like I was trying to change that memory in my mind and just kind of resolve it and put it to bed and have it not be there
Yes.
rearing its ugly head all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really incredible to hear you explain all
The
this.
the yeah. So the thing with that is I hear that all the time. People are trying to do that.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh no, no, no! I've sorted that out. I've done that memory.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that
Right.
memory." And then I say to them, "Do you mind if we check? Do you mind if
Yeah.
I check it?" Guess what? The tears start coming, and it's all still there
Yeah.
because that's just one part of the memory. Okay. So memories of wow, there's so many aspects to a memory. There's so many parts and pieces to a memory. So if you haven't changed every single part of it, if you haven't changed what you saw, what you felt, what you heard, what you smelled, right? I've had a lot of people, the strongest part of their memory has been the smell. So if you don't change that smell, guess what? The memory's still there.
It's still lingering. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. If the auditory is still there, so it's my dad. He's yelling at me. He's shouting at me. He's telling me I'm stupid, right? You can talk about that memory and sort of do what you need to reimagine that memory. But guess what? You're still going to hear your dad shouting at you, which is still going to trigger that cell danger response when someone else shouts at you. Yeah.
So you clearly now work with people, helping them with all sorts of things. I keep thinking, how do I have more of you in my life? Can I hire you for something? So what sorts of support do you have available? What do you do?
It's really amazing. I've been doing this for 11 years and it's just been word of mouth pretty much. I'm not a very big techie person and been out there. So just word of mouth has really been, I see clients constantly just from word of mouth because people have seen the changes, right? Massive changes. They go and tell someone. But I've been working on a course now for quite a while because I feel like I need to be able to access more people and share what I've learned with more people. Okay, so I'm doing a course at the moment and I'll give you the link to that. It's not quite finished, but people can start showing interest in it. And now, what the course is about is neuroplasticity, it's memory reprocessing work. But what it is what I found for myself, and I know you'll relate to this as well. And the thousands of people that I've worked with over these 11 years, guess what they all want? They all just want to feel happy, right? They want to have a happy life. They want to have a quality of life. They want a good life. But what I found is that whilst they're carrying around all these suppressed memories, these painful, hurtful memories within them, they can't quite access that happiness that they deserve. They can't quite get the fulfillment, and contentment and peace in their life that they're looking for. So this course is helping them to rewire their brain for happiness. And with that will be a complementary journal. So the journal is a guided journal. So what I've learned from doing this work around changing my brain is I've got to keep doing that. I've got to keep training my brain to stay happy and to feel good. So this journal will be full of all the exercises that I've learned over these last 28 years, how to do visualizations, how to do affirmations, how to create new habits, how to manifest what you want. But it's doing it in a different way to what I'm seeing out in the arena. It's doing it in a way of reprocessing memories first, okay? Because you can be wanting to manifest something, okay, and you spend a lot of time and energy trying to manifest something. But if you've got a memory residing in your unconscious that says you can't have that, then you're never going to get that, right? So if we go back to find out what it is that's in the unconscious, what memories you have that are stopping you from manifesting that. For example, I had this amazing woman. She was a yogi, she was a yoga instructor. She was one very highly regarded yoga instructor. And she said, you know what? All I want to do is I want to open this retreat in Bali and I want to help people there with yoga. But I just can't manifest it. I just can't do it. And she said, I have this memory. And it was a memory around money and her father. Okay. And she said, I've been doing everything to shift this memory. I meditate on it. I do yoga. I've just tried so many things. It just won't budge. And do you know what? In probably less than 15 minutes, that memory completely changed. And she went on, not long after, she was in Bali and she has this amazing retreat in Bali. Right? So can you see that connection between memory and what you want. So whether it's happiness, whether it's a healthy body, whether it's better relationships, whatever it is that you want in your life will be held back by the memories we hold. So we in this course, that's what I'll be teaching people, how they can make those changes. And some of the exercises are really simple, very, very easy. Anybody can do them, but you've got to do the memory reprocessing part of it. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be taking this course. So just putting it out there, this sounds incredible and will.
Wonderful.
Oh, it just sounds amazing. I really love your insight and your knowledge and your experience around all of this, and everything you're saying just makes so much sense. So, yeah, I'm really excited. And this, of course,
I'm excited.
yeah, people watching, this will be linked in the video description along with the other links. Lalita, if you can send them over that you had mentioned as well, we'll make sure all of that's there for people if they want to check it out for the different resources and whatnot.
Thank you.
Do you do coaching as well, or what? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I'm a neuroplasticity coach. That's what I do. Yeah, yeah. And you know, this is the most incredible thing for me, Raelan, because all my life, since I was a very little girl, I was wanting to help people. My father was a lawyer, and he used to have these encyclopedia of murders on his bookshelf. At 10 or 11, I was reading those.
Oh my
And I would
goodness.
ask my father, he wasn't that impressed I was reading them, but I'd ask him, why do people do these things? So from a really early age, I was puzzled and curious about why we do what we do. Why do human beings suffer? And I'd ask him, like, why is that woman sitting out there in the car looking so sad? And kids at school, you know, I couldn't figure out why they were so unhappy. And I wanted to help. So from a really early age, I thought I had to be a nurse. So I'd carry around this little bag with band-aids and things in it, and everyone would say, if you fall over, go and see Lalita, she'll patch you up. So I thought I had to be a nurse. And I went on to become a nurse. Okay. So I've done this full cycle. I've come back to what it was that was driving me as a child is I wanted to help people who were suffering. And that's what I'm doing now. And it's just the most incredible feeling to know that I'm on this path and that I'm doing this.
This is such an amazing journey. What you've been through, the intense struggle and suffering in all of those years. I'm sure there were so many moments where it felt like you might never get past this. You know, fast forward to where you are,
Yes.
and just
My mother also committed suicide, Raelan. Yeah, so I can really understand, you know.
yeah.
And I was heading down that track, you know, when I was sick. And like I said, I did attempt. And my youngest daughter, she started exhibiting a lot of my symptoms as well. So this cycle continues.
Yeah.
We've got to heal ourselves. It stops with us, you know. I also look at in generational trauma. If I'm working with a client who's, you know, living in Poland, living in Germany, living in France, I've got clients all around the world. When I'm speaking to them, I want to look at their generational trauma memories as well, because that plays a part in this process, the generational trauma.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I am so excited that you and I finally got a chance to talk. I couldn't possibly love you and everything that you're sharing more. I'm so grateful that you are here and happy and thriving and helping so many other people. I've been hanging on to every single word you've said in this interview. I just think this is just so amazing. So thank you. Thank you, Lolita, for doing this today.
Thank you for what you do, and thank you for this opportunity. And I look forward to continuing to be a moderator in your group and just keep helping people.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And again, people watching, just expand the video description and you'll find all the links you need to connect with Alita and learn more. And the Facebook group is linked there as well if you're interested in checking that out. Oh, and a quick shout out also to channel member Tina Cowie. Cowie? I hope I'm saying it right, Tina. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate the support. Big hugs to you. Hope you're doing well. To all of you watching, as always, big hugs to you also. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I hope to see you in this next one that I'll link up here for you.